Hello, thanks for being with us on this snowy, sunny Saturday. People across southern Ontario still digging out after last night's wallop of a winter storm. Up to 30 centimeters hit parts of the GTA. Meg Roberts is out there tracking the cleanup efforts for us. Hey, Meg.
Hi, Shannon. What has made that cleanup so difficult is just how hard and how fast that snow came down last night into this morning. But it's not the only thing that people are talking about. In the middle of all that snow, we also got a pretty impressive light show.
Not every snowstorm comes with bright lights and a loud bang. Meteorologists confirm this was no ordinary storm with lightning and thunder amidst the downfall, adding some drama to the 20 to 30 centimeters of snow that fell, leaving Torontonians digging out.
We've been planning for this event for over a week.
Today, the city declared what it's calling a major snowstorm condition, which means crews will pick snow up from the roads and dump off at designated locations.
Residents are being asked to move their vehicles that are parked on designated snow routes by Monday to enable our crews to remove snow on those important roadways.
The focus isn't just on the roadways, but also on the city's runways.
I am currently trying to fly to Edmonton. I've had 3 flights canceled on me today.
Chaos at Pearson Airport today as dozens of flights were delayed or canceled yesterday into this morning.
Let's hope it will not be canceled.
Now we're not getting to Vancouver until late tonight, I guess. Yeah. So, well, what can you do, right?
Today is like the catch-up and the recovery stage. So what we've been doing is just concentrating on making sure we've got the runways open, all of our facilities are up and running, they're humming, and then we're trying to support the airlines as they really try to get back onto their schedules.
The road conditions last night lended to a busy night for the police. Toronto police say it received reports of numerous vehicles stuck. And this morning, OPP says a driver died on Highway 401 eastbound near Port Union Road after rolling over when entering a snow-covered lane.
Make sure you actually need to be out in the roads before you head out, and there are areas that you may find it challenging to actually get around. So please be careful, drive safe.
The city says there's 7,400 kilometers of sidewalk that need to be clear, so it's asking people to be patient. It's also asking people to keep a watch for clogged drains as the snow starts to melt. Now, Toronto Hydro says that there's still a number of outages across the city, and those repairs will go into the evening. Shannon.
Okay, Meg, still a lot of work to do. She's reporting for us live tonight from downtown. Talk about a busy 12 hours or so for you. Hey, Sophia?
Yeah, hands down, the most memorable snowstorm of the season, Shannon.
Yeah, absolutely.
But all of that snow really takes a backseat to that real showstopper, which was the thunder snow. And I want to talk about this a little bit because it's relatively a rare phenomenon. We'll talk a little bit about the melt that's ongoing, as Meg talked about as well, with the warm conditions today. But thunder snow essentially is all of the ingredients coming together of a summer thunderstorm, but in winter conditions. You need the unstable atmosphere, that lifting mechanism. And yeah, sometimes we see 1 or 2 lightning strikes in a snowy setup, but not really seeing 100 or 200 lightning strikes like we saw last night. And instead of torrential rain or baseball-sized hail, this was essentially a severe summer thunderstorm in winter conditions with that wind-driven snow of 5 to 8 centimeters an hour, along with winds that were gusting 70 to 80 kilometers an hour of that wet, heavy, moisture-laden snow. You know that if you shoveled out there today. Now the snow and the sun out there today, rather, will be melting quite a bit, about 10 to 15 centimeters off the totals that you got. But this was a really potent system from stateside. It brought rare wintry conditions to parts of California. It even brought thunderstorms and tornadoes stateside, and it packed a punch here. Here's the look at the latest totals, that 20 to 30 centimeters of snowfall in Shannon. This one system that really came in the first few days of March like a lion has almost outsnowed all of February as far as snowfall totals go. We won't have driving conditions like this going into the next 24 hours at least, with sun melting a lot of that snowfall. But coming up in the long range, I have more not so good news. The next system, quick on its heels for Monday evening.
Oh man, we need a break from the shoveling. I had 32 centimeters in my neighborhood.
Yeah,
Yikes.
Luckily a little bit will be gone by the time you get home, but certainly fun for anybody that wants to make some snowmen.
That's true. And good exercise. We'll take it. We'll see you shortly.
See you soon.
It may be hard to believe on a day like today, but boating season is just around the corner. Some people who rent space at the marina at Ontario Place are now scrambling. The marina will be closed, paving the way for a massive spa development. As Patrick Swadden shows us, one man's livelihood is now at risk.
Jason Wren remembers happier times living on his boat in Ontario Place. The Toronto-based artist stays on it for nearly half the year.
It's my only address, and it's a nice, tight-knit community.
Now that marina sits empty and will likely for some time. The letter he received from Ontario Place Marina on February 14th, not a sweet Valentine. It was an email telling boaters construction activities have begun and the marina would close. All to make way for this, a gigantic water park and spa developed by Austrian company Therme. Wren's now looking for a new place to live.
I know guys here, they've been here for 20 years, 25 years, like longer. Like they've been here, this is their family, this is their cottage. I have friends that have gotten married on their boats here.
He says there are 5 to 6 year wait lists for other marinas.
Everybody's reaction was, what now? Like, and how are we gonna do this? They've got 240 boaters clamoring for a space to put their boats.
Those boaters now asking Ontario Place and the Minister of Infrastructure to guarantee renewal of their slips when construction is complete.
The public has not had a fair say here.
It's caught the attention of advocacy group Ontario Place for All.
What is put there should somehow resemble Ontario. An Austrian spa in no way represents Ontario.
Dee Pasquale says the Therme project means 850 mature trees will be cut down, disrupting local wildlife. And the group thinks taxpayer dollars could be better spent.
Each Ontarian is paying, roughly $60 for this project. And that is so that they can go pay $40 plus per person to go to a private spa.
Dee Pasquale's group joining opposition MPPs last Friday at Queen's Park, calling for accountability.
What do the people of Ontario get in this secret Doug Ford deal with a mysterious foreign company?
The group is calling for the government to provide audits, but the Auditor General tells CBC Toronto those audits will likely not happen. Patrick Swadden, CBC News, Toronto.
A couple from southwestern Ontario is now out $3,000 after trying to buy a tractor online. They thought they found what they were looking for. Dale Molnar has more on what happened next and why buyers may want to beware.
It was too late. The money had been taken and we just wanted to bury our heads in a pillow.
Eddie and Sue Strickland found a picture of this tractor on Facebook Marketplace earlier this week. The seller, who emailed them from Kara, Togo in Africa, told them to wire her the money through a MoneyGram to buy the vehicle. The couple took $3,000 cash to the post office at the Shoppers in LaSalle. On the receipt is a code they would give the person delivering the tractor, which was coming from Toronto. The code would be used to retrieve the funds. When the tractor never arrived, they became suspicious and called MoneyGram. They were told the money had been retrieved.
It's heart-wrenching. We are retired folks here and we worked all our life.
We're on a fixed income and it's really going to put a damper on the next few months.
The Stricklands say they never gave the code to anyone. MoneyGram has not returned calls for an interview, but in a letter they sent the Stricklands, they say the seller did have the code. Our records show that a person identifying themselves as the intended receiver of the transaction, and they give the code, visited a MoneyGram location in Togo on February 28th and completed a MoneyGram receive form requesting payment of the funds. MoneyGram says when that happens, it's contractually obligated to release the funds. The alleged seller, Belvita LeBlanc, emailed the Stricklands saying, "I did not receive the code, so I did not touch your money." On its website, MoneyGram warns people not to buy vehicles using MoneyGram and not to send money to people you don't know. In the letter to the Stricklands, they write, MoneyGram says its intended use is sending money to family and friends. If you ask MoneyGram to pay someone who turns out to have defrauded you, MoneyGram will not be liable as a result. The Stricklands say they still hope they can get reimbursed.
I don't know if we can, even though the one supervisor said if it can be proven that in Togo there was no reference number given, that MoneyGram would reimburse us.
The Stricklands contacted Windsor Police but say they were told there's not much the police could do. Police have told CBC they can't comment on the matter at this time.
Welcome back. International Women's Day is almost here. To celebrate, there's a special exhibition of women artists underway.
We are launching the show, which is a show that encompasses the early founders, particularly Mary Ella Dignam. The Mary Ella Dignam Gallery is where we're standing right now, and we have a show of her work and the work of some of her very close friends.
The Women's Art Association of Canada, a legacy show, consists of pieces by female artists from the early 90s. The group was founded in 1886. It was the first in Canada to be comprised solely of professional women artists. The goal, to amplify their work.
I hope that this exhibition makes people more aware of the contributions of these women, not just to Toronto or Ontario.
A total of 44 works are on loan from private collectors in Toronto. They'll be on display for the first time ever. The exhibit is free. It goes until March 11th in Yorkville. The TTC has made a commitment to be fully accessible by 2025, but right now, multiple escalators and elevators are out of service. As Clara Pasica reports, many say there is a lot of work to do.
Those looking to use some TTC escalators lately have been met with an unwelcome sight.
It definitely does make a big difference, especially with two small children.
It hasn't got me today, but previous time actually we were getting his COVID vaccine at Metro Hall, and this elevator right here was out, which caused me all kinds of problems. You know, late for an appointment to get a vaccine because you have to backtrack to a different station.
We have to service all our citizens, and you know, one of the ways the elderly, me included, elderly, get around is the TTC. So the TTC is the go-to, and it's got to be functional 100% of the time.
King, Queen, St. Andrew, St. Clair West, and Castle Frank stations all have escalators out of commission, some with months before they're expected to be back in service. Accessibility advocates say that's too long.
They should know about it within minutes of it happening, and they should have it fixed within hours of it happening, not days, not weeks, and certainly not months.
He says escalators are an important part of accessibility.
When you see people on an escalator, you may not see a visible disability. They might not have a cane or a mobility device to assist them. They could be someone who has a chronic fatiguing condition. They could be somebody with long COVID. Who have a pretty limited gas tank.
Adam Cahoon, who uses a mobility device, says it's not easy for many to pivot their transit plans to options like Wheel-Trans or costly options like taxis or Ubers.
They have what's called a family of services, where they're wanting more people with disabilities to take a more conventional transit and not use Wheel-Trans.
Cahoon says some are forced to accept a Wheel-Trans ride for only part of their journey, meaning they aren't immune to sudden elevator or escalator service interruptions. Accessibility is not just about the elevator and escalators.
To categorize something as fully accessible is sort of misleading in many ways. You know, what will happen by 2025 is an elevator will be put into every single subway station, or that is the goal. That's very different than something being fully accessible.
The TTC says it remains committed to creating an accessible transit system, but may experience challenges meeting its 2025 accessibility goals due to some challenges in the construction projects. Clara Pasica, CBC News, Toronto.
An Ottawa landlord says he is still feeling the financial hit more than 3 years after his building was struck by a garbage truck. He wants the company responsible for the damage to pay.
It rolled all the way down the hill, thankfully not hitting anybody. In between two parked cars, it went through the building on the left-hand side here. Enough structural damage for the building to not be sound.
Huang and his partners had to take out about $400,000 in loans to cover their carrying costs. Waste Connections, which owns the truck, didn't reply to CBC's request for an interview or comment. For its part, the City of Ottawa, which contracted out the company, says it's not involved and declined to comment. A group of Edmonton kids are in the middle of a 3-day marathon hockey game, all in memory of Edmonton Oilers' 6-year-old superfan Ben Stelter. He recently died from cancer.
Unbelievable, and we've really seen how impactful it is with kids doing it for kids. Just imagine what it would feel like being in the hospital as a kid right now, battling cancer, knowing that these kids are out here playing for you.
The kids are hoping to raise $250,000 for cancer research in Ben's name. It's being called the Kids' World's longest hockey game. The final whistle blows tomorrow. Good luck to them. Well, it's not quite the Daytona 500, but a prestigious snowmobile race is underway in Labrador. After being canceled the past 2 years due to COVID, the Canes Quest race kicked off today in Labrador City. It's a 3,500-kilometer trek, taking competitors to 18 checkpoints over the course of 5 to 7 days. Sophia's back with more snow. I can't believe it. It's like just hitting us here all at the end.
And it was such a quiet winter at the beginning, right? What's that? In like a lamb, out like a lion. Well, certainly March in a nutshell. Let's talk a little bit about the snowfall amounts. You mentioned, Shannon, that you were in that 32 centimeter range, definitely the heavy hitter as far as all of our amounts, but there was huge discrepancies in this event. Lower Stony Creek and Hamilton Mountain only got a couple, like maybe 3 or 4 centimeters of wet snow. 10 minutes up the mountain, 20 to 25, and then we gotta look again at that noteworthy thunder snow. Again, it was the show-stopping part of this whole event. The kind of event that really we might not see like this for another few decades. Really kind of a once-in-a-generation type of thunder snow event. We also got to talk about those snowfall rates that came down 5 to 8 centimeters an hour. Those are the most notable parts of this event. Now, Monday's system, much less noteworthy. 5 to 10 centimeters of just some wet snow that will come in Monday evening, but it's certainly salt in the wounds, Shannon.
Thunder snow, I'd never heard such a thing.
Yeah, we probably won't for a little while again.
Okay, thanks so much, Sophia. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
That's our show for you tonight. Thanks for being here with us. Before we go, we want to take you to Riverdale Park in Toronto, where people were out taking advantage of the piles of snow we got, from snow people to tobogganing, lots of fun.